It's the University of National Champions. That's UNC, of course. This is part 3. We're going to get into it on 94 feet of UNC.
Gordy to Black. The time, 18. Shot, Jordan! Michael Jordan!
Swicker with the defense and the rebound. That's a good effort by Swicker.
Stackout streaking in on Parks. Rebound stock is good, and he gets fouled by Parks. Oh my goodness, what a dunk by Stackout.
I think that he brought him back so quickly, but you know what? They're down 8. It's fair to say, you can't teach that high-rising ability. 3. And Green rips down the rebound in traffic. 4-on-1. Great job. What a terrific job in transition. I mean, you could.
The glass no good. Rebound followed by Hansgrove. Good! Carolina.
Inside 30 overall. Love, top of the key.
Alice about this over. Carolina. The Tar Heels have won the national championship.
And that is it. There is a new team in college basketball. North Carolina takes the title. Hampton, any final. North Carolina is the 2009 national champion. And this year, the confetti is going to fall to North Carolina. They're not going to be denied this time.
What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, October 2nd. You are tuned in to the 94 feet of UNC podcast. I am your host, Linzel Graham. I got a special guest, of course, in the building with me today. Not an unfamiliar face in the North Carolina family. Before we get into him introducing himself and everything, I appreciate all the love and support from everybody out there. But please make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at 94 feet of UNC. Hit that notification bell because, as I always tell you guys, you never know who's going to stop in at the Zell Dome. Like every day, somebody's popping up at the Zell Dome, and I get the chance to talk to them and see how things is going with them. So also make sure you follow me on my socials, on Twitter, on Instagram at 94 feet of UNC. Also, we got 94 feet of UNC podcast merchandise coming soon. But in order to find out about the free giveaways and the contest and things like that I give to you guys, you got to be tuned in. You got to subscribe to the channel. You got to follow me on socials in order to know. If you're a Tar Heel fan and you want some gear, listen, I'm going to make it happen for you. So just make sure that y'all do that. It don't take long to do it. So, but my special guest in the building today is Mr. Kevin Salvadori himself. Kevin, how are you, my guy?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on today. How you doing?
Absolutely. I'm good, man. Listen, it's an honor to be able to be in this position to sit up and talk with everybody and just hearing so many different stories, you know, just me being a fan, but now being in this podcasting space, like, you know, hearing you guys stories of stories that I've never even heard of with just you all's experience and things like that at the university is so amazing. And I'm thankful to be in this position to be able to do so and chop it up with you guys, man. So I appreciate you being here. Listen, come in, get comfortable. You can kick your shoes off if you want, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you want something to drink, I got you. But, you know, we're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time. So, you know, just get comfortable, man. And we gonna chop it up for sure. So listen, tell everybody about yourself before we get into everything.
I mean, I graduated Carolina in 94, redshirted my freshman year. Never had an inclination to go play for North Carolina. I didn't even know where I was going to go play. But, you know, after I graduated, I played a couple years in the NBA before I got hurt. Went overseas for a little bit longer, but, you know, when you hurt your lower back, that's about it. So I'm back in the Carolinas, getting ready to move up to Fuquay here very shortly, which I'm glad to be back in North Carolina. I was in Atlanta for six years. Atlanta's good, but Atlanta's a lot. And I'm glad to be back in Carolina, and I'm glad to be close back to Chapel Hill, so I get back there quite often. And I mean, anybody who's ever been there, you know right away it's a special place. And for us, it's even more special because we had different experiences than 99.9% of people that have ever been to Chapel Hill. So it's a very special place for us to go back to.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't call it blue heaven for nothing, right? Like,
Nope.
that Argyle Carolina blue is something special. It
It is.
comes
I can't
with
get away from it. You see my shirt. I was like, this isn't on purpose. I just wear this color all the damn time because I can't help it. I'm just drawn to it now. And I think everybody that's ever played there pretty much feels the same way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So listen, Kev, we gonna jump right into it, man. Like, how did you? Number one, how did you become a Tar Heel fan? But then, like, number two, walk us through the recruiting process and how you became a player.
And the thing was, and I just touched upon it a minute ago, I never was a Carolina fan. I wasn't really a fan of anybody. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so most of the basketball I got a chance to watch because back then it was more regional. I watched Big Ten a lot, and I watched a ton of Big East because Pitt was right there. So those are the games I watched. I mean, I knew who North Carolina was. I watched them when they were on TV, national broadcast, but up there they were only shown a couple of times a year. But the recruiting process was pretty interesting because I developed late. I was 6'1" freshman year in high school. I graduated at 6'11" and grew another inch in college. But it wasn't until my senior year in high school that I really started breaking out. And I was recruited heavily by Big Ten. I was recruited heavily by the Big East again because I was right there. The only ACC school at that time that was recruiting me was NC State. Coach Valvano. Love Coach Valvano. I mean, one of the most dynamic, one of the nicest, best people I've ever known. And he recruited me heavy and he recruited me early. And I was going to NC State.
Yeah.
Done deal. I was going to NC State. He pushed the Italian thing, Valvano, Corciani, Gugliotta, Salvadori, talked about, starting the Mafia South. And it felt right, it just felt right. And end of my high school career came and recruiting was insane.
Yeah.
Teams are coming from all over the place. And I told my family, I told the people in my high school, I'm done. No new schools. I'm going to pick from the schools that are recruiting me now. And literally like a week later, sitting on the couch, I remember so clearly, sitting on the couch and the phone rings. We had no cell phones. We got a home phone. Phone rings and my brother picks up the phone because I wouldn't touch the phone because there's recruiters all the time.
Right.
And I knew it was a coach. I knew it was a coach right away. So I just kind of settled back and whatever. I'm like, I take him. Brother's talking for a minute or two and covers up the handset and he goes, "You're going to want to take this call." And I go, "Is it a new coach?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "No, I'm done. I told you I'm done." He goes, we want to take this call. And I think back on it now. He and I argued for like 30, 45 seconds, going back and forth about I should take. I'm like, no. It was Coach Smith. I basically had Coach Smith on hold for like 30 or 45 seconds. And I'm like, I look back at that and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But I had no idea. They found me in an obscure way. Coach Hanners, our assistant coach there, was recruiting a guy out of Pittsburgh, 6'9" kid. And I played against him in the regional championship up there and just killed him. And he had never heard of me. He saw it and he's like, I can't get this kid. So he sent the film over to Carolina, and that's how Coach Smith called. My brother said it was Coach Smith from North Carolina, and I went, yeah, I'll take that call. I'll take it. And I had a good conversation with him, and he wanted to come up. He came up the very next day to see me in school, came up the next week to see me at my house, and I loved him. What's not to love him? The man just had a persona about him that there's a dynamic, just very intelligent, very caring guy. And he just came through. So he asked me to come down on a visit. And in my mind, I'm still going to NC State. I'm still going to state. But I had an extra visit to take. I said, you know what? I'll go to Carolina. You know what? I'll go down and have a good time. I'll party it up a little bit, just have a good time. But I still got my trip to state coming up. And man, when I came to Chapel Hill, and the coaches, the assistant coaches were all amazing. Loved them. They all were great. Coach Smith obviously was absolutely fantastic. I loved Chapel Hill. We just talked about how amazing Chapel Hill is. And the Dean Dome was great. The Smith Center was great. Everything was fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. But the thing that really, really set Carolina apart, by far, nowhere else came close. When I hung out with the team, when I hung out with the players, when I hung out with the guys, there was nothing like it. Absolutely. You hear Carolina family all the time and blah, blah, blah. Now everybody's got a family and everybody's got this. No, it was special. And you could see it. In 2 days I was there. It was absolutely special. And I finished my trip. I went home and I still had my state trip to go. But I walked off the plane, and this is when you used to be able to go to the gate. My mom and dad are sitting there waiting for me to pick me up at the gate. And my mom took one look at me and she went, "That's the one, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That was it." I mean, it was just everything about it was absolutely amazing, but it was the guys. It was the guys that just did it for me. And, you go back in life, and I'm 53 years old, and you go back in life, and I look at all kinds of decisions that I made. And man, I wish I could go back and change this, and I wish I could go back and change that. That has never been the decision I've ever looked back upon and gone, man, I wish I had gone somewhere else instead of Carolina. That's the one decision to the day I die I can hang my hat on, knowing that was the best decision I could have ever made.
Yeah. Listen, like I tell all of the guys when they come on, just hearing the story and like we talked about it before we even went on, like me as a fan, because I was if I can remember, I think I was maybe 11, 12, something like that during that 93 championship. And
Okay.
I remember I never got the chance, of course, to go to Carolina. Always wanted to, but I grew up for following in my father's footsteps, and my entire family pretty much. It
Okay.
was just all Carolina fans, and it was one of them like, hey, fall in line and just yeah, like you
I
ain't
get it.
no other fans over here,
Yep.
nothing like that. You a Tar Heel fan, and I remember sitting there watching that 93 championship game with my father, and it was really good. That took me over the top as far as a fan, and I just said, yeah, yeah. And I think that's what made me want to that's what at that moment made me say, I want to go and play there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I could just tell what type of man Coach Smith was,
Yeah.
just from watching him on TV. And
Yeah.
of course I was watching games throughout the season as well, but
Mhm.
to sit there and watch it during the championship game and everything was so fun and exciting to me. And
Mhm.
like I said, you guys' stories are incredible.
Yeah.
Everybody comes on here with a different story because everybody has different feelings and experiences, and as fans we don't get a chance to hear about these or see
Yeah.
these from looking from the other side or whatever. So I mean, just sitting here listening to these stories, and I'm sure you got stories for days.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sure.
they
Yeah.
don't
So
end. They don't know. We did that golf tournament. It was a charity tournament a couple weeks ago in Myrtle Beach. There was a bunch of ACC guys,
yeah.
and I'm with these guys for 18 holes, and I told them a minuscule amount of the stories that I could have absolutely told them because, I mean, it was 5 years for me because I redshirted, and it was 5 years of just absolute amazingness. And every story is different with every player because, and I got stories about everybody I ever played with, and they're all just special and spectacular. And then you talk about the coaches, and you talk about the people that surrounded the program, the people and the women in the office, the equipment manager, the people that worked at the Dean Dome. Everybody made it just a very special time, and I was extremely lucky and extremely fortunate to be able to experience all that. And I was coming from Pittsburgh. It's a football town.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about me playing basketball. Nobody gave a damn.
Right.
But Pittsburgh
Right.
is all about Steelers and all that stuff. And I came to Chapel Hill. I'll never forget this. I came to Chapel Hill and I was redshirting my freshman year. And our first preseason game, I didn't dress out. I was in my suit. And guys were getting showered and getting ready to go out afterwards so we could go back to the dorm. And I'm like, yeah, it's a nice night. I'm going to go hang out in the back. I'll wait for y'all. We'll get a ride back. And this kid comes up to me, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old kid, and he asked me for an autograph. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. First autograph.
Yeah.
And so I signed the autograph, and as I'm signing the autograph, I'm like, this kid has no idea who I am. I'm just a tall kid in a suit standing out near the Dean Dome. And I asked the kid, I said, do you even know who I am? He was, oh, yeah, you're Kevin Salvadori. You're from Pittsburgh. You went to Seton Hill High School. And he rattled off my statistics from high school. I didn't even know him. I went back and got the media guy, and I'm like, holy crap, this kid knew everything about me. Yeah. And that was my first experience into the fandom of North Carolina Tar Heel basketball. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be a part of it. And the fans just made it fantastic on top of a million other things that I could list off. Yeah.
Now, I got to ask you, Kevin, like, who was those players that got you there? Like, that you hung out with? I'm curious to know who those players were.
Don't remember recruiting trip?
Yeah.
Rick Fox and King Rice were the ones that took me around. I spent a lot of time with Hubert Davis as well. But when I went there, it was after the season. So we had the basketball banquet, and I came down the middle of the week to go to the basketball banquet. Coach Smith really wanted me to kind of see that environment. But I spent a lot of time with Rick, a lot of time with King and Hubert. And then after the basketball banquet, the thing that separated it was after the banquet, we all went out together and had a blast. And every other school I went to, you could see who got along and who didn't get along. And even in NC State, everybody got along, but you could see little factions kind of developing as the night went along. That night is what really separated for me, because the whole damn night, we just had a blast. Everybody had a good time with everybody. There wasn't one person that didn't belong. There wasn't one person that didn't get along with another person. But I spent most of my time with Rick and King, and they made sure it was a pretty good trip.
That's good. Shout out to Rick Fox and King Rice, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had this legend here at this university. He would have been one of those other guys up the road there or whatever, from a whole nother city, dressed in red and black and white, and we didn't. Nah, we can't even picture that, Kevin. We can't even picture that at all, man. Like, you made the right decision. You made the right decision for sure.
I know it did.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right into. I want to ask you, how did it feel when the clock hit 0.00 in that national championship game? I ask all the national champions this question just because of the fact I can only imagine how I would have felt. So I can imagine it being a just so surreal moment that would probably last forever in that person's lives. Like, I can't believe it actually happened. We did this. I did this. I won this. And I can just only imagine how it feels. So how did it feel when that clock hit 0.00 in that game?
I mean, you hit it perfectly. It was so surreal at the time. But the beginning of the game, when you go in, your adrenaline is pumping so much. We all got tired real quick. And you have to get subbed out again. Then once you got back in, you kind of got back into game mode. But I remember at the beginning of the game, I got real tired, really out of breath, like, oh wow. And then you kind of got into the groove of it. But when that clock hit 0:00 and we just ran on the court and started going crazy, I mean, the pure joy of it. But I remember, like, halfway through it going, oh my God, I'm more tired now. Jumping around like an idiot with my teammates and hugging everybody and running around. And I got out of breath. I'm bent over breathing, like trying to catch my breath. Yeah. It was the culmination. Like, early on, you probably heard that they put up the Superdome up on our lockers at the beginning of the year. That was our goal, as our personal goal as a team. We said it as Coach Smith had one national championship, and that was a travesty. That man deserved more, and we had to get it for him. And it was such an amazing sense. To this day, it's the greatest sense of accomplishment that I've ever had. And it was, it was such a high for good Lord, probably till the next season started. I mean, I remember coming back and just being treated so well. And we had the big event in the Smith Center afterwards. But running around on that court, I was absolutely exhausted. I couldn't get a hold of enough people to hug and to celebrate with. And my mom, there was a picture in one of the newspapers down there with me and George hugging. And my mom ended up framing, that's in my office. My mom framed it up for me. And just the pure joy on my face on that picture is just absolutely, it's indescribable. I don't know how to put it into words. I mean, you've talked to other people about this. I'd love to hear what they say because I'm not smart enough. I'm not articulate enough, obviously, to put it into words. But I'll never forget, we finally got off the court. We started walking back in the locker room. I'm happy because, good Lord, I'm tired. I am tired from all the celebrating. And we walked back in the locker room. And Coach Guthridge, I mean, everybody always talks about Coach Smith, but Coach Guthridge is somebody, any player you ever talk to that played for that man will tell you how special and how much we all loved him. But after every game, it didn't matter what game, it didn't matter if we won or lost, he'd put it up on the board. What time we leave, whether or not we got practice tomorrow or we got the day off or whatever it was. I'll never forget, we walked back in the locker room and there's two guys in front of me and they're just laughing. And I look up on the board, Coach Guthridge, all he wrote up on the corner of the board, no practice tomorrow. And we just started laughing. Like, it was just hilarious. It's just so typical of his dry sense of humor. And we walked back and just started laughing. And we, again, got back in the locker room. And we couldn't get enough of it. It was like, the moment was so big. I mean, at least for myself, the moment was so big, I didn't really know what to do. You know, I didn't know what to do. Just trying to celebrate with everybody. I didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. And it took a while. Like, I kept waiting because I knew we won our game. I kept waiting. Okay, when do we practice it again? When's the next game we're going to play? Because it just didn't quite settle in for a really, really long time. And it started settling in a little bit more when the guys that were graduating, and I came in with because it redshirted. We're now talking about where they were going next. Where was George going? Where was Matt and Scott and those guys? And that's when it really started settling in that I was never going to play with those guys again. And that was not a good feeling. That really wasn't. But to go out the way we went out with those guys was, to this day, I can't get over it. I really can't.
And it's just one of them things, like you said, it's going to live with you forever.
Yeah. And it lives with, like you talked about it right now, when you're 11 years old. I get people to this day, I mean, my God, that was 31 years ago. And I get people to this day that still come up and talk to me about it because it really impacted them. And I love, like, the 93 team is a team that is not still talked about a lot.
Right.
People talk about all the other championship teams and then with Michael and Worthy and they got people afterwards. But I have a lot of people that come up to me that go, that 93 team was their favorite team. We didn't have a lot of superstars on it. We were just a really close, good team. And I'd put us up against anybody because we were mean, we were tough, we were big, and we were about as fundamental as any team that could ever play for Coach Smith.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny that you say that because I'm going to be honest with you. During that time when I was, 11 years old, something like that, I don't think a lot of people understand the history on top of history that you all made.
Yeah.
I'm still to this day, I am a huge fan of the Fab Five.
Yeah.
Huge fan of the Fab Five. I mean, the Fab Five was, when you, Jawan, Chris, and Jalen Rose, and Jimmy King, and Jackson, like, I was a huge fan of them. And I was borderline, like, watching them throughout the season. I was like, I like Michigan. Like, I don't know if I should tell my family this. And then it ended up like Michigan and UNC in the final game. And I'm like,
who were you cheering for?
Right. Like, oh, wow. Like, this is going to be interesting. But then, like I said, just watching the game, and as the game went on, and I think the excitement from my family watching the game as well and just cheering on Carolina, I think that's what took it over the edge. but I'm still to this day, I'm still, I think I will forever be a Fab Five guy. So
Well,
just being able to beat them.
Yep. Well, you remember we played them earlier in that year, right? We played them in Hawaii, and they beat us on a lucky buzzer beater. And man, we wanted them again. We wanted them badly because that team, we lost 4 games. All 4 teams that we lost to, we beat all 4 teams. And we wanted that revenge game badly against them. So when we were matched up against them in the national championship, we were really happy about that. Now we knew they were good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
C. Webb was a beast. I mean, he was everything that everybody ever talked about. That man had great feet, great hands, strong as I mean, that guy was. I hated going up against him. I ain't gonna lie to you. He was out of my class. I'll be the first one to say that. That man was out of my class. But we wanted them. Yeah. We wanted them in that national championship because we wanted that revenge, and we knew we could beat them.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, still to this day, like the Fab Five, I think they go down in a lot of people's history books as far as one of the greatest teams ever.
But the funny thing about
nobody would deny.
The funny thing about that, though, they never won one trophy.
I know.
They never won a Big Ten, regular season, tournament, or just even one of the other. So they were an amazing team. Don't get me wrong. They were an amazing team. Never won a trophy, though, of any kind.
That is true. That is true.
I can hang it. Hey, I got a lot of those. I got a lot of trophies in Carolina.
I know that's right. They still made history. They definitely still made history because, like I said, still to this day, everybody talks about how amazing that team was, and
very much so.
You can talk about that, so many years later. Yeah.
Yep. No, they were trendsetters in the way they carried themselves. Listen, being freshmen and sophomores and doing all the things that they did. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I am saying we beat them.
Yeah. Hey, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. We both made the right decision because I became a Tar Heel fan, and hey, you got recruited, and you knew that was the school you wanted to go to when you got off that plane, and Mom Dukes asked you that. So hey.
Well, I'm glad we were able to make sure we solidified you as a Carolina fan. Then I'm glad I was part of that.
Absolutely. It's so good to be here. So good to be here. I don't think I would have felt right. Like I think I would have converted over to a Tar Heel fan eventually. But I mean, just because of my family, sometime down the road maybe. But listen, it started early, and I'm glad it started early. I'm glad it started early. So yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this: and I asked Pete the same question. What made Coach Smith so great? Like, and before you answer that, let me just say, Coach Smith is, to me, the greatest coach of all time. Oh. Might not have accolades like Coach K or, Calhoun or whomever, but everything that he did, not just for the game of basketball, but even off the court, for all of his players, I think is just incredible. I don't think we're ever going to see anything like that again. And in my eyes, he's the greatest coach of all time. He's definitely on the Rushmore. I actually have two UNC coaches on the Rushmore, to be honest with you, him and Roy. So, but along with Calhoun and Coach K. That would be my
It's a pretty good list. I mean, listen. I mean, I'm obviously very biased. I'm going to say Coach Smith was the best coach that's ever been on as well. And he changed the game. He changed the game with the rules because of how he coached it, and the 3-point line, the shot clock, all the things that he did changed the game. But the things he did off the court, with the desegregating the ACC and basketball and working with the movement back in the 60s, not just as a coach, but as a person and trying to make things better around them at all times. And I think as we get further and further away, it's easier to talk about Coach Smith with the wins and the basketball side of things, but he was so much more off the court with what he did, away from basketball completely. And he was able to utilize his platform to be able to make changes for the better for everybody. And I love that aspect of it. But, I mean, how long's your show? Do you want to find out why Coach Smith was so great? It's hard to get into because I'll say this one thing, and then I'll get into my personal beliefs about Coach Smith. When my mom dropped me off at Carolina, she said, she dropped my brother off. He went to William & Mary and played basketball. Didn't really play much there. And she was worried when she dropped him off. Is he going to be taken care of? Is everything going to be okay with him? This is my son leaving home. And she said, if you never play a minute here, if you never get a chance to play basketball here, you're not good enough. I know Coach Smith's always going to take care of you, no matter what. And he instilled that in my mind, my mom's mind, that no matter what, he was going to take care of me as a person. Yeah. And he did. He absolutely did. But the thing that Coach Smith, I mean, when we're talking just basketball, I've never had anybody push me so hard. And he demanded so much from every one of us. Our practices were 3-4 times harder than any game we've ever played in. I used to live, if you remember how skinny I was when I played, I was 220 pounds, 7 feet, 220 pounds. And every practice, I'd lose 7 to 8 pounds every practice because we worked so damn hard in practice. He pushed us. He made us better every day. But everything we learned on the court was a life lesson. And those things, all those things I taught my daughter. And I taught other kids when I was doing some coaching and working with kids. But that's just touching the iceberg. I mean, he taught us such discipline and taught us how to be men, taught us how to be good men. And the court was difficult, and he pushed us. He demanded everything from us, but he never, ever disrespected us. Always treated us with the utmost respect. But it was how he treated us off the court that spoke volumes with them. And we would have conversations constantly, one-on-one with everybody in the team, making sure we were okay. What did we need? How could we do things better? And I never felt left out, whether I was a redshirt freshman, not playing at all, to being a guy that averaged 25, 26 minutes a game. But the thing that I think speaks most volumes about Coach Smith is every player that was there, no matter what they did, how they did, he was always there for the best for them. If somebody was transferring, he tried to help them. There was very few people that ever left. But there's a couple guys that left while I was there. They still come back because they still feel part of the family, and that's because of Coach Smith. When I graduated was when Coach Smith did the most for me. He could have just pushed me aside and, he's done with me. And there was many, many guys that I played with in the NBA that when they got done, they never talked to their head coach again. They didn't want to, they had no use for that guy. When I graduated, Coach Smith did more for me then because there was no NCAA rules. There was nothing that anybody that he could get in trouble with. And he was always there for me, whether it was something personal or whether it was something basketball related. He was always there. Him and Coach Guthridge were always there. And because of him treating us that way, my God, we would have done anything for him. And that's why we picked up that moniker of we have a chance to win this national championship for Coach Smith, and we need to win this championship for Coach Smith. We wanted to win it for ourselves, but it was more important for us to win it for him because of what an amazing person he was, how hard he worked for us, and how well he treated us. And I mean, good Lord, I can't express everything about Coach Smith that made him so special. But and then when you come to the basketball part of it, I mean, there was so many times in games that I could talk about where he was the absolute, like, obviously our preparation and everything he did and how we did things in the game was the difference. And we'd walk into a game knowing we had an edge because of Coach Smith. But there was moments that I could pick out right now that said, we won that game because of that one play that Coach Smith did, or that one thing that Coach Smith did that was that absolute difference in the game, not including everything else. And we had absolute faith in him. And when we get in a tight situation, he put us in the right situation. He put us in the right position to win that game, no matter what.
Yeah. I'm once again as a fan, um, there's a few stories that I've even heard of that here lately, and that I remember of some things that Coach Smith did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when when and I'll say it because it is what it is, and I truly do believe that the reason why Rick Barnes did not coach at Clemson anymore was because of trying to get in Coach Smith's face, which
Mm-hmm.
is that's the dean. You just don't do that. I truly
Yep.
believe that that's why Rick Barnes was not so much kicked out of the ACC, but kicked out of the ACC. I said it. It is what it is. I remember I heard about the story with Mac Tarjai. As far as him or Coach Guthridge going over to Senegal to see
Yep.
his family,
Yep.
and like learn the culture,
Yep.
which once again, amazing, amazing
Yeah.
to even think that somebody that much cares about you that much. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just incredible. And
Yep.
then of course the big one that of course hit national news where when he passed that
The
he
letter.
left all the players that
Yep.
played for him something.
Yep.
Like
We all went.
nobody
Go to
does that.
dinner. No, and that was Coach Smith. He was when you played at Carolina, you were a part of that family. I mean, like you said, you hear Carolina family, and that's cute. But for him, we were part of his family, and he treated us like that constantly. And there was times. It's funny because I look back, and when it came to like he coached Eric and me completely different. And when I was mired in the middle of it, it used to drive me nuts because Eric would make a mistake, and Coach treated Eric differently because I think Coach figured out Eric, support him, pick him up. He's going to go out there and kick some butt, and that'll be great. Yeah. Make me angry, and I'm going to go out there and go crazy and attack people. And he knew that. And in the middle of it, I'm like, why is he being like this with me? But then, when you get out of the middle of it, he knew how to get the best out of everybody. But on top of that, he still was always there for us just to take care of us. He did the basketball. There was a couple of things that happened in my life while I was in school, and it was the basketball went away. The basketball went away. And this is a head coach of a major program, but the basketball stopped. And okay, Kevin, and I've seen it with other people. Okay, what do we have to do to make sure you're okay? Because that's the most important thing. And for us and Coach Guthridge and Coach Smith, I mean, that'll be something that'll carry for all of us that were fortunate enough to be able to be a part of that. And that's why he got out of us what he got out of us, because we loved the man like nothing else. And he loved us the same way, and it was evident. And we just, when you feel that way for somebody like that, you just would walk. I'd run through. If he told me to run through a damn brick wall, I'd have ran through a brick wall for him.
Yeah. And it's crazy, Kevin, how you say that, because I sit back and I look at myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I'm not gonna say I'm Dean Smith, but I have a mentality of something that that I know Coach Smith would do, right?
Okay.
So in this podcasting space, I get the chance and the opportunity to talk to you guys, right? My thing is, not only do I want to talk to, of course, you got all of the big players, the Vince Carters and Michael Jordans and and those guys. But the same way that I would love to talk to them is the same way that I would love to talk to whoever the last walk on the bench was.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I treat everybody like the same. Like it doesn't matter if you're the star player, or if you're the last on the bench as a walk-on. Like
Yep.
everybody is treated equally in my eyes. And for me that's the reason why on this show, I have some walk-ons that are coming on the show soon.
Oh, good. Good.
But I want to talk to them as well. Like
Yeah.
just as much as I want to talk to the star players, I don't just want to talk to all of the stars and things like that.
Yep.
No, everybody that has played and put on that uniform
Mm-hmm.
has an experience.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that experience with those
you know.
walk-ons is totally different too. Their journey is something very special, and I was able to play with two of them. Travis Stevenson was one that was with us on the national championship team, and I mean they worked their butt off to get there. And I'll tell you what, they went through some stuff in practice and they made this. And Travis was undersized, 6'7", 6'8", big strong guy. But my God, he's going up against me. He's going up against Eric. He's going up against Matt Weinstrom, George Lynch. And man, that guy gave everything he had every damn practice, and we loved him for it. He made us better because, boy, he played hard. And he's no less of a player because he wasn't recruited or anything like that. He's our teammate. He's part of that team. And and his journey was more difficult than my journey. He had to put his head down and work even harder than I had to. And I respect the hell out of any of those guys that do that. They're going to be a lot more hard-nosed than we had to get there.
So true. So true. And that's the reason why I say it doesn't matter if you're the star player or if you're the last one on the bench. If this is what my platform is for, because as I've spoken to Rayshon Terry and David Noel and Pete Chilcutt and some other guys that are coming up soon or whatever, which I'm not going to throw nothing out there because, don't want to spoil anything. But, this is a platform for everybody that has put that jersey on. This is a platform for their voices to be heard.
Yeah.
And
I say the thing I love about, we talk about, extending what Coach Smith taught. Everybody that ever played for him, I think most of them we all have kids, and we've all probably done some sort of coaching one way or another. So we teach our kids these life lessons that we learned from Coach Smith. And I know my daughter and I know a lot of these other guys, their children are going to continue to teach these lessons again and again and again. And exponentially, this is just going to reach more and more people. And this all comes back to Coach Smith. And I think it's the best legacy we could ever leave for him is those lessons that we learned from him and how we treat other people and how we treat our kids. And there's people around me. Listen, I get approached every day. Not everybody remembers me anymore. It's 31 years ago. But I get approached every day about my height. And people are always making statements and talking to me and whatever. And you just treat everybody with respect. You treat everybody kindly. You treat everybody the exact same way. And I get that from my parents, but I also get that from Coach Smith. And I get that from my teammates as well, because we all lived it. We all dealt with it. We all went through it together, and we all treat everybody the same exact way.
Yeah. It's the true definition of family.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter, and this is what I tell people all the time, even in some group chats and things like that on social media. I tell them all the time, UNC is a family. That family, that word family is key, because it doesn't matter what color, race, or anything that you are. If you are a fan and or a player or whatever, when it comes to this university, we are all one big family. Not like the brotherhood that's a few miles down the road. That brotherhood is a brotherhood. Yeah, that's which is like Pete said, that's something that may have started, a few years ago. It's a great marketing strategy. Hey, we get it, but nothing beats this family.
Everybody tries to emulate it. They try because they know it sounds good, right? It sounds good. But when you've been living it for the last 50, 60 years, You can't replicate it. You just can't. It's part of the program. It's part of the blood of it. And I knew when they brought Hubert on as assistant coach, I was ecstatic because I talked to Hubert not long before that, and he was so happy at ESPN and doing what he did. And I heard he broke down when they offered him the job, and I'm like, yeah, if you're assistant coach, that's great. But I had a feeling, and nobody will ever corroborate this, but I had a feeling back then that they brought on Hubert to be who he is today. And Hubert is one of the few people that I would put in the same breath as Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge. Yeah. He is that high quality of a person. And everybody we've ever played with are great guys, but Hubert's somebody special. And I knew he was the right guy to continue this because he would make sure that family would always continue. And I love Roy Williams. He did a great job there, and he continued the family. But I think Hubert does it a special way, a different way that is even more attuned to what Coach Smith did. I really do. Yeah. And that'll never go away because Hubert will never let that go away.
Yeah. And you know, that's crazy you mentioned Coach Davis because that it kind of like moves us right into to my next question. So, which is a two-part question.
Okay.
Number one, how well, and I think I got an idea on what you're already gonna say, but for the fans out there, how well, number one, do you think Coach Davis has done so far? Mm-hmm. And number two, I tell you what, I'll hold off on the second question. I'll let you answer that one first.
Well, again, we're gonna be a little biased here. Hubert was a teammate. Right. Hubert was a roommate. I love Hubert to death. He's been a great friend since 1989 when I met him. Yeah, I was ecstatic when he got the job. I knew he was being primed for it. I ain't gonna lie. For the last couple of years of Coach Williams' tenure, and not anything against Coach Williams, I just wanted Hubert in the position. I think he's done an amazing job. I really have. I mean, listen, first year, if Baycott doesn't get hurt, doesn't sprain his ankle, he probably got a national championship his first year. Yeah. But that's part of the game. That's part of the game. It's what it is. He did an amazing job. His second year, listen, there's a lot of turmoil. That speaks to the chemistry of the team and how well we play together. And I think any team that's younger, when you have that success like that, it's hard to keep it under control. Right. And I thought last year he did an amazing job bringing it back and reeling it in. And I thought they had a very special year last year. Unfortunately, ended a little bit earlier than what everybody wanted. I thought we should have gone further in the NCAA tournament. I thought we fell a little flat. We played up to our opponent's strength, but when it comes down to it, was anybody going to beat UConn last year? So I'm not sure if that would have happened, but I think Hubert has done an amazing job. The dynamics of recruiting and bringing guys in now has been changed so much just so recently, and I think he's adapted well. Gotten in some really great transfers, going back to Brady Manick to last year with Ingram, and we got a slew of guys coming in this year that'll be interesting. That we're going to need these guys. We're going to need these guys, and then with the recruiting, man, I'm telling you what, these kids coming in this year and the kids that came in last year, he's done a hell of a job with the recruiting process, and I'm excited to see what they do. So you're not going to hear me say a bad word about Hubert. I love the man to death, but even separating from that aspect of it, if you look at the guy 3 years into his tenure, with all this turmoil that's going on in college basketball today, with the transfer portal and NIL money and all that stuff, who's done a better job in 3 years, in their first 3 years in basketball? And of course, there is a learning curve. You take that step to the next seat over, that's a big step. And I thought he's done an absolutely amazing job. And we've got a challenge coming up this year, and I think the staff they're prepared. I'm excited about what's going to happen this upcoming season with the changes they've done, and I'll support Hubert forever. I love him. I love the guys on that staff. But on top of that, I think he's done a really good job. And I was frustrated his second year, but I think it was a learning experience for the team and for the coaching staff as well. And I think they've come out on the other side really well.
Yeah. And that's funny because you actually not so much, but you almost pretty much kind of answered my second question, because my second
Yeah.
question actually was going to be, well, just to piggyback off of what you said about Coach Davis real quick. Coach Davis, stand-up guy.
Best.
I mean,
Best.
it doesn't get no better. Does not
No.
get no better. I think he has done an incredible job.
Yep.
I think from the moment he started head coaching up until now, I'm like you. Who's got a better record than him? He's brought in nothing but good recruits. Now,
Yep.
unfortunately, and to just so everybody knows, Pete Nance was a really good pickup. He just didn't fit
Just didn't work
in the
out.
system.
Just
Just didn't work.
And it happens.
So,
it happens.
yeah, it happened. So you can't say that Hubert is missed in the portal, because even if you want to say Pete Nance, even if you want to say Pete Nance was not whatever, like if people want to say that, right? Well,
Yeah.
what about his other years? Because the he has more positive than negative years, if that's how people want to look at it.
Well, think about this though. Brady Manick, when he came in, he was a good get, but nobody thought he was going to be much. Look what he did. He killed, and he was that dog that every Carolina team needs. He's that dog that just he hit a lot of big shots. But you know what I loved about him was how hard he played and how much he got in the other team's face and did so well with that. But then you look at last year, we brought in Ingram. Ingram was a good get, but again, he wasn't supposed to be this big. And Hubert developed that guy into being and I think he's going to be. Listen, Baycott is a great player. I think he was a freshman when I was a senior. He's been around that damn long, but we're going to miss him a lot. But Ingram, as a transfer portal, he was that dog for us, great, hitting big shots, getting the big steal, playing tough. But he lifted the team up he was just tough. And he made that other team be like, well, man, we're in for a fight. And that's the guy we hit on big time in the portal, well enough that we all thought we were going to have him for 2 years, and he did so well. He's now a San Antonio Spur. So don't tell me that Hubert missed on the portal, because he's done a pretty damn good job on that. And with the recruits coming in, I don't want to hear about all that stuff. But it's a different world. A lot of these kids now, how much money you can pay me.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. And I think a lot of times we look at a kid and he could be a great player, but do we want him here just because we're going to be able to pay him more than anybody else?
Right. And I tell everybody that don't know, North Carolina is not a pay for play type school. We never was, we never will be.
Nope.
So there's a lot of other podcasters out there that'll sit up and say North Carolina is broke. North Carolina don't have no money to get no players because they missed out on so many in the portal and stuff, right? But that's really not the case. Coach Davis, same thing with Coach Williams, same thing from Coach Smith, Coach Guthridge, whomever were the coaches. They want players to come and play for the name on the front of the jersey.
Yep.
That's it. That's what it's always been. That's what it always will be.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of these people out here need to stop with these narratives, because these podcasters out here can persuade players to go to other schools by sitting up and putting stuff out there and narratives out there that North Carolina is broke or they don't have any money. That's not the case. Because North Carolina has plenty of money if they wanted to do that. That's not what they want to do. So recruitment, I think this may be Hubert's first actual year for recruiting his own guys. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been last year, but
I'm not sure.
I think this may be his first year, because RJ Davis and Armando are Coach Williams recruits.
Yes.
So this is Hubert's first year, and he's done an amazing job. Ian
I agree.
Jackson, Drake Powell, James Brown, who's a development player, but
That's
he's going
okay
to be
though.
good. He's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Not
Yeah.
everybody needs
So
to be a 5-star recruit, because you know what? You get these guys that come in and work hard and get better and get better and get better. And next thing you know, you got this upperclassman that is going to be able to teach these younger kids. He's a heck of a player. He's going to be a leader on that team because he's been around for a while. You know what? And let's face it. Kentucky was one and dones. And listen, they had a really special kid that won it for them, who's now in LA, that was a great player, in Davis. It's the only time that ever worked out. Only time it's ever worked out. You need guys that have been around for a little bit. You need young guys that come in. You need some veterans. I love what Hubert's doing. You won't ever hear me say a bad word about the man as a person or about what he's doing as a coach.
yeah,
Love him to death.
absolutely. I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Kevin. I'm totally with you on that. I stand with you on that for sure.
Good.
Because I think he's done
Good.
an incredible job for sure. Like I get up here now that I'm in this space. I can get up here and defend. I defend my family. That's just what it is. That's just
those
what it
same
is.
people. Those same people that are badmouth them when they're doing well. Those are the same people who sit cheering them on, saying, "I told you so. Look how good they are. Look how good Hubert's doing." Those are those same people that keep going back and forth. We don't need all that. There was a bunch of people that came to me after that second year when they weren't doing well. And Hubert's a horrible coach. He's trash. I'm like, you crazy?
Yeah.
You crazy? But yeah, there was a bad year. There were certain dynamics that weren't working out. Happens a lot. Unfortunately, happened his second year in. But look at his first year and look at last year. Don't tell me he's a bad coach.
Exactly.
Ain't gonna put up with it.
Exactly. So, with that being said, let me ask you this: as last question, what are your expectations for this team this year?
It's gonna be an interesting year. I tell you what. First of all, and let's face it, we should have the best backcourt in the country.
Absolutely.
RJ's RJ. We know that. And every year he comes back, he's better. But I think what's going to help RJ a lot this year is I think Cadeau's going to be a lot better, because you come as a freshman point guard, man, that's the hardest job in the country, Carolina, because it's a very intricate system to learn. He's learned the system now. He's going to be able to go out and play and just play. Seth Trimble, man, I was so glad when he came back. Good Lord. I love Seth. I met Seth a couple of years ago. I love him. But I tell you what, the leap he made from his freshman year last year, I went up and saw him this summer, and I congratulated him. I said, man, excuse me, I'm so proud of you and what you did.
Yeah.
And he got a big smile. Thank you. And I'm good. Then he looked me dead in the eye, got real serious. He goes, you wait till this year. Wait till to see what I do this year. Our backcourt, man, and I love that kid. I think he's amazing. But our backcourt's going to be bar none. Tyson, I think, is going to be coming in and giving us good shooting. Ian Jackson, man, you talked about that kid. From what I've heard, he is everything. All the hype that he's been put on him, he's all that. But for me, it's the big guys. It's the big guys. That how good are we going to be is going to be on the big guys, because we're going to be a guard oriented, and I get that, and I'm fine with that, and I love that. Jackson and the three guys that I already talked about, and then we got Tyson going to be a good shooter. But man, we got to have somebody in the middle. And a couple of years ago, I watched Jalen Washington working out, and I was blown away by his skill set. His skill set is off the chart. It is off the chart. And we got glimpses of that last year. And I know some of the injuries in high school and some of the injuries since he's been here has held him back developmental-wise. If he can come out and be a presence inside, and he can go inside, outside, if he can be a presence for us, I think Withers is going to be better. If those two guys and some of these transfers, I think we're going to have kind of a committee down low. If they can just give us a presence in the middle, man, we can be really good. We can be really, really good, because our guards, if we're not good inside, our guards are going to carry us and do well. If we have a presence inside, man, we're going to be scary. I think we can really put some fear in a lot of people, but it comes down to that. It really does, because when you lose two people like a Baycott and you lose an Ingram, you need people to step up. And Jalen's the guy that's got the skills that can do it, but can he mentally do it game in and game out. Withers, I think, is going to take a leap forward, and we'll see from there. But, man, I think we can make a lot of noise. I don't even know, and I really don't care most of the time, where we rank going into the season. Do you have any idea?
Yeah.
Where are we?
From what I've heard so far, I think they have us around the 10 to 12 seed. Well, not seed, but number. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's legitimate. I do. I think it's legitimate. I was thinking somewhere between 10 and 15 to start the year off.
Yeah.
If our bigs do well inside, and our guards are going to go insane. I just feel that if our bigs can do well inside, we could be a top 5 team. I really believe that. I really do.
I believe that as well. I think this team it's going to be so exciting to watch them because I love the fact that Coach Davis has the flexibility to present so many different lineups that could cause so many different problems and mismatches for teams. You know, I think in the past couple of seasons we kind of got away from the transition a little bit, and I think that we picked that back up this year with Jackson and Davis and Cadeau and Trimble. You know, Drake Powell. It
was hard to do with Baycott with that because he was more. Let's get him on the post and and Ingram was the same way. Let's get them and let's them outwork the other guys. I totally agree. I mean, I think I'm trying to think of the last time we may have been this athletic. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
No, it's not taking away anything from the other teams we had, but it's the guys that we're adding they're freaks in the best way. I mean, they're going to add an energy level, a speed, and an athleticism that I don't know we've had that in the last couple of years, especially on the wings, the wings. And I think that's going to open up a lot of stuff. And I think that's going to allow Cadeau to really get out on the break and just who's you want to go to this time. And like I said, our bigs are going to dictate whether we're a 10 to 15 or a top 5 team. And I'm hoping and I'm thinking that we can easily be a top 5 team this year if they can just give us. And it doesn't even have to be. They don't have to be stars. Give us adequate, good rebounding, play some good defense, and give us some buckets down low. And if they can do that, our guards are going to carry us a long, long way.
Absolutely. I think I've had this talk with so many other Carolina fans and other podcasters as well, but I think Jalen Washington is probably the best center that UNC has ever had. I think he has the potential to really be
skill-wise.
Not so much skill-wise for sure. Let me make sure I put that out there because I was just about to say not so much accolades, but skill-wise, yes, he is the best center that North Carolina has ever had. My X factor would be Jalen Withers.
Yeah, Withers is the one because he's another athlete. Jalen is another athlete that comes up. But I was at practice a couple of years ago, and I was just kind of watching the whole practice, and everybody going. And all of a sudden, I look over and I start watching Jalen. I'm like, wait, what? Like I didn't see the skill set that he had. He was going in and out and shooting the ball and making moves, and I'm like, I was like blown away. I'm like just really blown away. Like this kid is abnormally skilled as a big man. And I was hoping he was going to take a bigger jump last year. In all honesty, I think Baycott may have stunted his growth a little bit. But listen, Baycott's a great player. But now without Baycott, I'm hoping that he really opens up and starts turning into that player that I know. I mean, that guy could be an absolute monster. And like I said, we got glimpses of it last year. And man, when he did it, because I met him and Seth Trimble both at Eric Montross's basketball camp 2 years ago, and I saw him again this year. I love both guys. They're both great guys. But then I'm watching them doing their stuff on the court, and I'm just going, good Lord, if I had a tenth of what he had, the player I could have been, because he is that damn skilled. So I'm hoping he really breaks out this year. I really do. And he has the absolute ability to be able to do it.
And I totally agree with you. I think if Jay Wash makes that leap this year, that junior leap, I guess you could say this year,
Yep. Yep.
with his scoring ability and things like that, and his agility, stay out of foul
Yep.
trouble.
Yep.
Then of course you're gonna see that on it's gonna show out and play out on the court. I think Drake Powell and Seth Trimble are probably our biggest defenders.
Yep.
Which I have an extra one in there, which I'm gonna get to in a second. I think if Elliott takes that sophomore leap, like we
Yep.
think he will, with
He
his jump
definitely will.
shot and his 3-point shooting, then that makes Carolina even more dangerous. You know what RJ is going to bring. Ian
Yep.
Jackson is I mean, that's Ian Jackson, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cade
We talked about him for years.
Yeah, Cade is a pure shooter. It's going to be interesting to see what Lubin does. Tyjon Claude, that's my guy right there. Like, he was a great pickup because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know that he was ranked 10th in the nation in offensive rebounds, and
No, I
he was
did know
ranked
that. Yeah.
number one in the ACC in offensive
Yep.
rebounds over
Yep.
Baycott, over DJ
Yep.
Burns, over all of those guys, and he was 8th in minutes on Georgia Tech's team. That
Yep.
says a lot about him. Plus,
Yeah.
6'8", 6'9", 230, big body, can push
Yep.
some people around.
And that's the game now. 6'8", 6'9" is the game now. It is.
Yeah.
And
then
I looked at this. I looked at the roster, and I'm like, okay, we're getting smaller without Baycott, but not really.
Right.
And the game doesn't dictate for dinosaurs like me running around anymore out there. You get these guys that that are more athletic. They're smaller, but they're more physical. And those are the guys I used to hate playing up against because you know what they do is they get up underneath you.
Yeah.
And they just push you around. And yeah, he was a big pickup. I think he could be I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, but boy, when he's in there, I think he's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like the backup center for Washington.
Maybe. Maybe.
I think so because if you notice last year, he ate Baycott up.
Yeah.
He ate him up in the Georgia Tech game. So and Baycott, of course, taller than him, but his body frame just pushed Baycott all around.
But he knows how to use it too. There's a difference about having the right body frame and knowing how to use it. Like I said, he gets up underneath you and he leverages you out. And he's a smart player. I mean, you got to be a smart player to be able to do those things, and he does. He does those things really, really well. So when I first saw the pickup, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not a bad pickup. And then I looked into it a little bit better, and I went, oh, wait a minute. This could be a sneaky one. This could be one of those sneaky ones that really pay off for us. And he may be that dog that I was talking about earlier. He may be that guy that kind of sets that tempo of, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be nasty and I'm going to outwork you and I'm going to bring everybody up with me and we're going to work our asses off and be tough.
Yeah, and then I can't forget about Lubin. I mean, a lot of people don't. If you want to, if you really want to say, Lubin is, if not bigger than Harrison Ingram. Like they're about around the same size. So same height, same size, and he might even be a little bit taller than Ingram. So that's another big body. But my X factor would be Jay Withers.
I agree.
I'll tell you about Jay Withers that would make Carolina so even more dangerous if it happens. I mean, of course, but this is just me. Let's put Jay Withers on more so. Let's have him focus more so on defense than offense.
Yeah.
Like
I agree with that.
He's the tallest. He's 6'9". He's the most athletic on the team. Mm-hmm. Like, make teams fear you when they want to drive to the basket. They don't know where you're at. You just come out of nowhere, swap it into the stands, whatever the case may be.
He's so athletic, and I completely agree. I referenced him a little bit earlier. You remember at the end of last year, he had a couple of really good games that showed his potential.
Yeah.
And I think this year it really could start coming to fruition because when you come in, there's a lot to learn. Not only is it a different game, it's bigger, it's faster, all that kind of stuff, but you got to play in the system of Carolina. You can't just come in and do things your way like you've done your whole career because you're just the best player on the floor. Right. And when you learn how to do that, because you're thinking, and for most players, when you're thinking as you play, you're not as good of a player. When you can react and just do the things that you're supposed to do and then just play your game, you're that much more of a dangerous player. And I think a lot of these guys are going to make that big step because of that, especially the guys who were freshmen last year. They're going to, I expect big leaps forward because of that aspect. And I think their confidence level's up. They don't have to think about what they got to do as much anymore. They can just play because it's starting to become natural for them. And I expect us to be a deep team, but it'll be. I mean, the guards are going to be carrying us, and I'm hoping Jalen really can break out. And I think being out of the shadow of Bacot will help him a lot. I really do.
I do too. I totally agree with you. I think Bacot probably, stunt his growth a little bit, like you said earlier, that, when you're playing behind somebody like Bacot, who pretty much went down in UNC history. It's hard it's hard to replace that or jump or, take minutes, whatever the case may be. It's hard to do so. So I think he's gonna have a breakout season. And I think Jay Withers is gonna use last year as a motivation for him this year. So
100% agree. 100% agree. And there's a lot of competition inside. There is. Yeah. These guys coming in, you got some big bodies. What does that? I mean, we had that at Carolina when I was there. We had me, Eric, George Lynch, Matt Wenstrom at 7-1, Serge Wicker at 7-3. Every practice, we made each other better. We just going at each other physically, mentally. We just made each other better. So all these guys in the middle that are going to be practicing against each other day in and day out are just going to make each other tougher and better. And I guarantee you this. They'll have to earn the time that they're on that court for Hubert to give it to them, and Hubert will give it to the people that are most deserving of it. And it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, Coach Davis has always said that you got to earn your time now. Like, I tell you, I hate that we don't have Zayden this year because I thought that this would have been a big year for him as well. But But the unfortunate situations, but that's a whole nother story or whatever the case may be. So but I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be an exciting season. You gotta let me know when you go into some games so that me and the wife can get down there and speak to you, get some pictures or something like that, or whatever. And we gonna absolutely, especially now that you're back in the Carolinas in the area. So you're actually not too far from me, Kevin.
Where are you at? Where you located?
I'm actually in Sanford.
Okay.
I'm in the Sanford area, so about 30 minutes from Fuquay. So we 30 minutes from Fuquay, 30 minutes from Chapel Hill. So we can make it happen.
Maybe we get together in Chapel Hill. Maybe we get together and watch a game.
Let's make it happen.
Watch a game on TV too. Make it happen. I like it.
Let's make it happen. I'm definitely down with that, and I'm sure my wife would be too, because she's a big Tar Heel fan. So should be happy to do something like that for sure.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, that's gonna wrap it up, man. Tell everybody where they can find you at, Kevin, or whatever it is that social medias or anything like that.
I don't do it, brother. I don't do it. I don't do social media. I'm an old man. Listen, I did it for a minute, and I'm like, what am I doing? So I don't do it. But hey, listen, I'm in Chapel Hill all the time. Somebody see me out in Chapel Hill, come let me know and watch me on the show. I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, and for the fans out there, please don't hit me up and be like, hey, tell Kevin to meet me at such and such. I probably won't do that. I don't know if Kevin is going to want me to do something like that.
No, not like that. But if somebody sees me out and about, love to have them come up and say hello. It's always good to be remembered and talked to. But don't be telling my address or anything like that.
No, No, never that, Kevin. Never that for sure. So, you won't have to worry about that. So I don't want them to know my address. So I think we good on that for sure.
All right.
Sure,
Just making sure.
So,
Just making sure.
Yeah, we good. So listen, everybody, that's Kevin Salvadori. Man himself. So I mean, listen, Kevin, I appreciate you stopping by. Like I really do. It's an open invitation. Anytime you want to stop by, chop up some and talk some UNC basketball, whatever the case may be. You're always welcome, my guy. Always welcome. So
I appreciate it, man. I've had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, but that's just that's gonna wrap things up or whatever, I guess you could say. So up. I got the doorbell going on. I don't know what's going on. So got another guest, at the door, Kevin. So I stay busy, man. I stay busy, I guess you could say. So yeah, which is a good thing. So listen, so that's gonna wrap up everything, everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure y'all follow me on my socials. And until the next time, peace.